Say you got yourself one of those shiny new Johnny Thunder minifigures from the City Jungle sets. Or even better, the CMF Series 19 Jungle Explorer from a few years ago. They're both super awesome to see and have, but if you know anything about Johnny Thunder, you know he doesn't belong alongside modern-day vehicles and technology. And he's an archaeologist, not a zoologist. Well, mostly. So ever since I got these in hand, I've been looking for something fun to build that fits him a bit better. Something that embodies the spirit of the Adventurers sets of the 90s and early 2000s, but updated to suit his modern design. Enter Playmobil. Wait, what? Hang on, let me explain. So, if you've been around the LEGO community long enough, you've undoubtedly heard it compared to Playmobil. Or, more likely, the other way around. And I guess that's fair, to a point. They're both toys, of course, both companies are based in Europe, and they both aim to inspire imaginative play through various types of themes. Oh, yeah, and there's these, I suppose. But that's where the similarities end for me. And I feel like, for some reason, Playmobil is looked down upon by a huge swath of the die-hard LEGO community. But if you're a fan of LEGO's bygone original themes, like pirates, castle, western, or yep, even adventurers, Playmobil can be a fantastic resource of inspiration. I came to this realization when, out of nowhere, YouTube randomly suggested a video about Playmobil set 3015 Jungle Ruins from the late 90s. The first thought that popped into my head was, wow. That would make for an awesome adventurer's build. So, for research purposes, I picked one up. Turns out, Playmobil can be pretty collectible itself, and since there's no equivalent to Bricklink that I can find, completing a vintage set can be challenging. So my copy isn't quite 100%, like there's supposed to be a big tree on the side, and it's missing little bits here and there, but it's enough to get the idea across. And I'm not here to review a Playmobil set, but I can tell you I would have had a blast with this as a kid. After looking it all over and getting a feel for things, I set out designing a LEGO version for my Johnny Thunder to explore using Bricklink Studio. My goal wasn't a 100% accurate recreation, but rather to use the jungle ruins as a framework, to which I could then add my own ideas. And while I could have gone crazy with complex build techniques, intricate rock work, etc., I tried to keep costs in mind, and if everything worked out, I knew I wanted to create instructions for this and build it in real life. So after well over 100 hours of designing, building, redesigning, rebuilding, and worst of all, yes, creating the instructions, I finally had something I felt was worth sharing with the world. Deep in the heart of the jungle, the ruins of a mysterious temple stand defiantly against the ravages of time and entropy, the last remnant of a lost empire. But legends are still told of this place, stories of a mighty ancient ruler adorned with gold, and his magical scepter with which he could control not only the birds and the beasts, but also the minds of men. Tales of this place and its priceless artifacts have reached the ears of treasure hunters across the globe, and the race to uncover and lay claim to its secrets has begun. But for our hero, Johnny Thunder, it's a race to prevent this powerful relic from falling into the evil clutches of Baron von Baron and Rudo Villano. However, the temple has been protecting itself for centuries. Perilous traps and deadly defenders await all who dare enter, no matter their motivations. Will Johnny succeed in his quest, or will Baron's cunning win out? Of course, that's for you, the LEGO maniac, to decide. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, here it is. There is absolutely no shortage of amazing adventurers MOCs out there, but for me, personally, this is my favorite build I've ever created. There will be a link to instructions and a parts list in the description if you're interested, and towards the end of the video I'll go over what's included in those and how much this cost, etc. But first, I invite you to take a tour with me, because there's actually more to this than meets the eye. As you can see, I've kept the general shape the same as the source material and tried to retain elements I really like, such as the red-eyed stone face and the placement of many of the trees and rocks. But the original playset left a lot to the imagination, which I think is great for kids, but for this, I really wanted to pump up the atmosphere and immersion, and add as many little details as I could. Starting over on the left, we have this rocky structure, home to a bunch of foliage and a pair of poison dart frogs. I love the way this palm tree hangs out over everything, and I find these tooth elements in bright green work great for little bits of hanging moss. And this whole section is actually hinged, so if you uncouple the ball joint here, you can swing it out and position it however you like. This also gives us a nice spot for a little campsite. I love this flame element that came out in the Monkey Kid sets. It's perfect for a campfire. This giant tarantula actually functions as part of a play feature, which we'll see once we get inside. Little plants and vines are clearly overtaking the structure, and I find that these flowers add the perfect pop of color. I've gone with mainly coral and bright light orange, but you could swap these out for whatever hue you want. I especially like how this creeping plant turned out, with a few of the flowers more in bloom than others. And up here you'll also find a few open spaces for posing your characters of choice. The parts list doesn't actually include any minifigures outside of a few skeletons, but I'll go over my top choices to add after the tour. There's also a play feature to be found here. The original playset has this gate that crashes down with the press of a button, and likewise, if you press on this brick here, voila. Definitely gonna need some aspirin. As I mentioned, I also retained these red crystal eyes, which you could see as another target for treasure seekers. Some crumbling stone steps lead us into the mall, but we'll take a look in there shortly. Continuing to the right, we've got the largest tree of the set, which I think really frames things nicely on this side. And there's actually a secret hidden here. Remember that magical scepter I alluded to? Well, apparently someone thought it was much too powerful to leave just lying out in the open, so they buried it here in the foundation. Of course, this space could be used to hide whatever treasures you wish. And it looks like another little frog has made his home in here. Alright, let's see what the interior has to offer. As you can see, I took quite a few liberties here when compared to the Playmobil set. It's pretty straightforward inside and has a few spots I felt needed spruced up. That said, I really like the way the steps lead down into the jungle, so I kept that, as well as this central pedestal. But mine is just a bit different. You'll notice this gray rectangle here just inside the entrance, and if a treasure seeker happens to avoid impalement from the falling gate, they're still not out of the woods. With a twist of the pedestal, the floor gives way to a pit full of deadly vipers. I love creating my own play features, and this one in particular took quite a bit of messing around to get just right, but it's super fun to activate. You will need 2 hands to reset it, and tolerances are pretty tight, so the right half needs to be raised first. Then just turn the pedestal back, and you're ready for the next unlucky trespasser. Over here on this platform, we'll find some relics waiting to be studied, and beneath that, the visage of a stone guardian. On the left, a similar face watches over the courtyard, and we've got a few more relics here. If you watched my top 25 vintage minifigures video, then you know the skeleton is one of my favorite additions to make to pretty much any set or MOC. And this hapless guy apparently fell prey to the temple long ago. I love the way he's just nestled in the plants here. And he's not the only corpse we'll find today. Another fantastic feature of the Playmobil ruins was this grave containing a mummy. So, of course, I had to include that in my build as well. That brings us back to this tarantula outside. Give him a twist, and the floor opens to reveal the remains of the mighty ancient emperor. And this feature could also be seen as another booby trap, launching unwary grave robbers into the surrounding jungle. It's a little difficult to see inside though, so I've added the ability to pull this whole thing out, much like the tree. Now we can get a way better look at what's left of this guy, which isn't much. Again, just like the treasure, you could bury whoever or whatever you want in here. Perhaps this is a choose final resting spot. Or you could stick to the original idea and throw an actual mummy in here. One small thing I've always appreciated about Playmobil sets is that they often include little freestanding trees and plants to fill out the world, so I've done the same with these two. They're simple, but keep this thing from feeling like an island in the middle of nowhere. So this, as you see it, is what's included in the parts list. I've tried to make it as affordable and easy to source parts for as possible, while still maintaining the look and feel I was going for. All told, it's about 1,400 pieces, most of which are currently available from LEGO's online Pick-a-Brick, and many of them are super common parts you probably already have. For reference, after a quick comb through of my own relatively small collection of bulk parts, I ended up having about $150 in this, which I don't think is too bad, but I'm sure you could get that number quite a bit lower if you went for used parts on Bricklink. And if you're curious, here are a few size comparisons. I think this would fit nicely on just about any standard shelf. But say you've built this and want to take it to the next level. I did too, and here are a few details I've added to my copy. First, I've swapped out the crown for this amazing Aztec warrior headdress from the Series 7 CMF. The beautiful sculpting and detail on this is worth the few extra bucks in my opinion, and I think it really elevates the look of the set as a whole. But other good headdress options are a choose, the other Aztec warriors, or even the D&D Lady of Pains. Or you could go a completely different direction and put some other type of relic here. Next up, the skeleton in the corner. The Playmobil set came with this guy, so to match, I've thrown a Morian helmet on mine. If you're lucky, you might have a gold one from the Series 8 Conquistador, which would be even cooler. And I had an absolute blast livening things up with some local fauna. Birds, bugs, monkeys, slugs. Maybe some of them could even serve as temple guardians. Speaking of guardians, those aforementioned Aztec warriors make excellent ones. And of course, we have to add Johnny Thunder, since he's the whole reason this build exists. I've opted for the CMF version with an older style backpack and a proper slouch hat, the latter of which you can get in reddish brown from the LEGO Movie 2 version. That said, the 2024 City version fits just as well. If this were a real adventurer's set, it would come with a ton of accessories. I'm not sure if anyone else has done this before, but using a reddish-brown candlestick and one of these power bursts in transparent orange makes for an awesome torch. And there's no reason to stop there. Some of these characters are more difficult to give the modern treatment to than others, but it's hard not to throw in a few more heroes and villains. And if pirates are more your thing, this build works great for them too. I am so happy with how this turned out, and besides the absolutely wretched, soul-crushing chore of creating the instructions, I had a blast with this whole project. In addition to the jungle ruins, there were a few smaller sets available at the time in the same sub-theme, and I'd eventually love to brickify those as well. I really can't overstate how much fun it was translating this into this. So in a nutshell, despite the derision Playmobil gets from many hardcore LEGO fans, I think it's a fantastic design resource and deserves a second, unbiased look. If you're a MOC builder, especially one with an affinity for classic themes, then this stuff is truly a treasure trove of inspiration. Playmobil has been around since the 1970s, so there are literally thousands of excellent sets to spark your imagination or cure your builder's block. I'll also leave a link in the description to this page of catalog images, which is a great place to start searching for your next MOC. Just be careful not to get sucked into another hobby, because that's totally possible with product photography as good as this. And if you decide to try your hand at some Playmobil-inspired LEGO builds, be sure to share it either here on YouTube in my community section, or tag me on Instagram. I'd love to do a roundup of fan designs someday, and I can't wait to see what you come up with. Special thanks to the members of Club Maniac, who have taken it upon themselves to ensure the future of this channel. If channel memberships aren't really your thing, purchasing the instructions on Rebrickable is another great way to support the channel. But that's all I've got for you today. Let me know if you enjoyed this, as it's something completely new for me. I'd also appreciate a like, hype, and a follow if you haven't done so already. I'll be back again soon with some vintage LEGO goodness, but until then, this has been Jamie for TrikBrix. As always, take care and play well.